She pressed send. The message was short. Professional. Just a reply to a Craigslist ad. A job. A client. Another night in another hotel. But the room was colder than it should have been. The man who answered the door looked clean-cut. Young. Well-spoken. Polite even. But something wasn't right. The shades were already drawn. His movements, too measured. Too quiet. She didn't know his name. But that man had a fiancée. He had textbooks at home. He had a white coat hanging in his dorm closet. And somewhere in his backpack, hidden beneath latex gloves and rope, was a gun. Julissa Brisman thought she was walking into a massage appointment. She didn't walk out. By the time the staff opened the door, she was on the floor, bleeding. This wasn't the first time he answered an ad. It wouldn't be the last. And when the truth came out, it wasn't just her family that was destroyed. A hospital, a wedding, and a reputation, all turned to ash. The man they arrested was called Philip Markoff. But online, they called him something else. The Craigslist Killer. Asterisk. How does a clean-cut med student, engaged, with no criminal record, become a cold-blooded predator? What pushed a future doctor to stalk women through Craigslist, pretending to be a customer, only to leave behind broken lives and blood-stained rooms? And what secrets did he keep hidden beneath the surface of a perfect life? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you think you know about trust, identity, and the strangers who hide behind screens. Asterisk. To the world, he was Dr. Philip Markoff, a promising medical student with a perfect GPA and a fiancée who adored him. He looked like every parent's dream, tall, polite, soft-spoken, and ambitious. But behind closed doors, something far from noble was unfolding. At Boston University School of Medicine, Markoff was on track to become a doctor. He shadowed physicians, volunteered at hospitals, and spent hours in the library. Buried in books about anatomy and the human brain. But there was another side to Philip. A side that didn't need books or scrubs or accolades. A side that lived in the shadows of Craigslist, in the erotic services section, where women advertised massage appointments, companionship, and sometimes, things left unspoken. On April 10, 2009, 29-year-old Tricia Leffler, an escort from Las Vegas working out of a Boston hotel, scheduled a meeting through the site. She was used to discretion, used to risk. But nothing prepared her for what walked through her door. Tall. Clean-cut. Wearing khakis and a blue polo. He looked more like a guy you'd see at a college coffee shop than someone about to pull out a gun. Once inside, he locked the door behind him. What happened next was quick, calculated. She was bound with plastic zip ties, gagged, robbed of her cash and phone. He didn't assault her. He didn't kill her. Then, just as quickly, he vanished. Tricia reported the attack. Surveillance footage showed a tall man leaving the hotel calmly, like he'd just picked up dry cleaning. 4 days later, the pattern escalated. Julissa Brisman, 25 years old, working as a masseuse, met a client at the Copley Marriott Hotel in Boston. That meeting would be her last. Around 10 p.m., guests heard loud banging and muffled cries. When security opened the door, Julissa was found lying in the doorway, bleeding from 3 gunshot wounds to her chest. Her purse was missing. Her phone was gone. Her laptop, untouched. Police were baffled, no clear motive, no suspect. But one thing linked the two women: they had both arranged meetings on Craigslist. Boston was now on edge. Media dubbed him the Craigslist Killer. But no one knew who he was. Yet. On April 14, 2009, just hours after Julissa Brisman's murder at the Boston Marriott, police poured through hours of security footage. Hundreds of guests came and went, but one face stood out. He wore a baseball cap low over his eyes. Jeans. Hoodie. He moved fast. Too fast. But as he passed a camera in the hallway, there it was. A side profile. Blurry, but distinctive. Investigators didn't have a name yet. But they had something better, a digital trail. Starting with the email used to book the meeting with Julissa, detectives traced the IP address. It led them to a college campus. Boston University. Then, to a dorm. Then, to a name. Philip Markoff. A 23-year-old medical student. A man with no criminal history, no red flags. Just a future as bright as anyone's. They followed him carefully, watching him walk his dog, go to class, kiss his fiancée. But when another Craigslist escort reported a robbery attempt, the description matched the Marriott attacker. Police had no choice. On April 20th, just 6 days after the murder, Markoff and his fiancée were pulled over on I-95. The couple was heading to Foxwoods Casino for a weekend getaway. What police found in his car didn't match the man in the passenger seat. Inside the vehicle, zip ties. A hollowed-out Gray's Anatomy book. Latex gloves. A loaded handgun. And tucked inside his coat pocket, a wedding band. The same kind Julissa Brisman was wearing when she died, but was never found. His fiancée, Megan McAllister, watched in shock as police handcuffed the man she thought she knew. They'd been planning their dream wedding for months. In the interrogation room, Philip Markoff showed no emotion. He looked confused, composed, even annoyed. He denied everything. But the evidence was overwhelming. Gunshot residue on his skin. DNA on the weapon. His fingerprints on the Craigslist reply. His laptop history showed meticulous searches for how to remove fingerprints from gun. This wasn't random. This was calculated. Despite hours of questioning, Markoff never confessed. He simply stared. As if none of it mattered. Like he had already decided how this story would end. Philip Markoff wasn't a textbook criminal. He was the model student, driven, polished, ambitious, and quietly unraveling behind a clean-cut exterior. Some experts believe he embodied what's known as the mask of sanity, someone who appears high-functioning and empathetic, yet harbors a cold detachment underneath. He didn't need to kill to survive. He did it to feel something. In the vast emptiness of Craigslist's anonymity, he found the perfect place to act out fantasies. Each message sent was another mask, another identity. One night he was a charming med student, the next he was answering personal ads under fake names, orchestrating encounters with chilling precision. The website gave him power. The screen concealed his face. The city gave him cover. And the victims? They never saw him coming. But the mask couldn't stay on forever. Gambling debts, late-night casino visits, and secret online conversations began to surface. Beneath the polished image were layers of deception. Diaries were found. Search histories uncovered. Obsessions documented. He was living a double life that no one, not even his fiancée, could have imagined. Friends described him as quiet, courteous, dependable. But alone, he spiraled into something else entirely. Hours spent studying medicine were followed by nights lost to gambling, and darker urges that crept in as compulsions. When investigators dug into his digital life, they found the outlines of a man who rehearsed control, searching for ways to immobilize, to dominate, to vanish. One small detail stood out among the evidence: items taken from the victims that weren't worth anything, except to someone who wanted to remember. He didn't just want to hurt. He wanted to relive it. Megan McAllister stood in front of the cameras, her hands shaking slightly, voice flat from exhaustion. The woman who had proudly stood beside Philip Markoff as he pursued his dream of becoming a doctor was now publicly defending him, pleading with the media to understand that the man she knew could never have done this. They were planning a wedding. They had picked out floral arrangements. The invitation there. Cable news, morning talk shows, true crime forums. They all wanted a piece of the story. A handsome medical student. A respected university. A bride-to-be. And a double life that led to a trail of blood. It was the kind of headline that sells itself. And the question echoed across the nation, how did no one see it coming? Every new revelation brought more confusion, not clarity. The hollowed-out books. The plastic ties. The Glock hidden in his apartment. Reporters combed through his college life, questioned his professors, even interviewed old high school friends. But nobody had answers. Narration. He couldn't face it. Inside the Suffolk County Jail, Philip Markoff began to show signs of breakdown. He stopped eating. Became withdrawn. On one night, he attempted to end his own life. It failed. But it was the first indication that he knew this story would not end in redemption. Despite being under 24/7 surveillance, despite suicide precautions, Markoff found a way. And the world watched. Curious if the man accused of monstrous acts would escape accountability. By vanishing into the void of silence forever. He was no longer the promising med student. No longer the doting fiancé. In the end, all that was left of Philip Markoff was a man sitting alone in a concrete cell, and a plan that had been forming for months. It was August 15, 2010. He had just turned 24. On the surface, it was an ordinary Sunday. But behind bars, Markoff was methodical. He ripped a plastic pen casing to carve into his flesh. He used a jail-issued medical razor to open his veins. He created a noose from a bedsheet and secured it to the metal frame of his cell. Then, in eerie silence, he took his life. When guards entered, they found his body slumped forward. The blood had smeared across the pages of his jail-issued Bible. Inside were her initials. MM. His final tribute to Megan. Philip Markoff died before facing a jury. Before the women he hurt could look him in the eyes. Before justice had its day. Some say he took the coward's way out. Others believe he died exactly how he lived, controlled, calculated, and in the end, silent. But what he left behind was louder than anything he could have said in court. A nation obsessed with his story. A trail of broken families. A fiancé shattered. A new warning to a digital generation, you never truly know who's behind the screen. He was the man no one saw coming. Charming. Smart. Promising. And yet, hiding just beneath that perfect surface, something cold. Something no one wanted to believe. But there it was, staring back from the news headlines. The Craigslist Killer. If this story struck you, remember her name. Not his. Tell us what you think. Was he always this way? Or did something push him over the edge? Leave a comment below. And if you want more true crime stories that reveal what lies beneath the mask, subscribe, share, and never trust the surface.